Summer 2002. The year that I ran away from home. I'm just kidding. I didn't run away. I moved away. By the year of 1993, we moved from Los Angeles to Sacramento. It was a long story. I'll get back to that in possibly another life, another moment, another episode, possibly some other time. Not right now. I basically had 9 good years in that area. I was ready for a new, fresh, new start, however they say it. We'll come to that another time. I'm sure we will. Summer of 2002. I was getting ready to move elsewhere though. Chicago. New stomping grounds. I lived here longer than I lived in California, basically. However, since I knew by the summer I was going to move away, I told my family, I told my job, I told my friends, my best friend, my very, very best friend at the time, for those 9 years, would have pay per view parties and decided to give me one more, just one more pay per view party. We ended up reminiscing about the time we met. Oh, good times. The many times we beat each other up because both of us were into backyard wrestling. Oh, I should do an episode about backyard wrestling. We will soon have that. I assure you, I have a plan. We were both either on the same team or punching each other in the face and giving each other concussions. Well, I took power bombs, and believe me, taking a power bomb on grass will definitely give you a concussion. Yeah, those were some good old times, I tell you. Summer of 2002, though. Oh, let's talk about summer of 2002. Spider-Man just broke the box office. Superhero movies are in. I'm talking about everything with superhero movies at that time. X-Men, Blade, Spider-Man. There was what was it? Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. Everything was sci-fi. On the TV side, Smallville changed the game for the shows on TV, and The Rock wrestling era. The Rock was on his way to becoming a major Hollywood action star. But at what cost would that have been? Summer of 2002 also marked the last SummerSlam that I would ever watch in California. The tradition that started for me in 1992 when I got back from Nicaragua ended here for me. 10 years of enjoying the blistering heat, the summer madness, the summer girls, and having watch parties with my friends, which would turn into a different tradition in 2003 once I moved to Chicago. So let me just say how amazing this show was. Let me bring you to SummerSlam 2002 for that very particular moment. Thank you for tuning in. I go by many names. Million Dollar Geek, as some of y'all have heard that name before on this podcast. Sometimes Evolution of a Geek. You've heard some people call me Evo, if you're nasty. Or just plain Evo, whatever you want to call me. This is from Under the Apron, the podcast I started in January of 2002 because I wanted to have some organization in my life. The podcast that helped me get through my depression and anxiety that I was going through the year prior, diabetes year. The podcast that I started because I wanted to talk about wrestling, and forgive me for being corny, but it has evolved into the podcast that I wanted to talk about my fight with diabetes and try to see if anyone out there was going through the same issues I was. Relatable. I'm sure it was for some of you because you all tuned in. Uh, evolution doesn't stop there. It keeps going, or so I've been told. It keeps adding new features, and with that, I'm adding it to this podcast as well. You know what I didn't do last year? Talk about SummerSlam. You all know that. I took this whole 2 month hiatus because I wanted to focus on my mental health. And I'm basically talking about SummerSlam now because those were the episodes I wanted to talk about last year. You know what else I didn't get a chance to do? Talk about San Diego Comic Con. But someone that went there and did, and I interviewed her. Episode 51, Christine's TikTok, who was there for the No Holds Barred anniversary special, among many other things. We had a whole discussion. Go listen to episode 51. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I'm sure. And if you're still not sure, go check out that episode, and in the show notes you'll find out where you can uh, follow her on all her socials, on TikTok mostly and Instagram. Do you know what I'm going to do now, though? San Diego Comic Con was this weekend, from Thursday to Sunday. I didn't get to go. Of course not. Money. I'm broke. Who knew I was broke? And just finding out that Christine did maybe another interview with her is in the works. Maybe I will interview her again. I'm going to have to go and look her up again and ask her if she wants to be interviewed because of San Diego Comic Con. I, however, had a busy weekend as well. I was refreshing Twitter. What's left of that app? I'm sorry. I know that guy wants to call it X now, but just like the Sears Tower, nobody's ever going to call it the Willis Tower. And now that he's calling it X, I can't help but think of this now. Gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. So I was on Twitter, or X, whatever, as San Diego Comic Con tag, hashtag, the SDCC tag. I kept on refreshing every few hours to see what was going on, and the first thing I see are the new toys, the lineup. A video from with Sam Roberts being shown around by Johnny Gargano and his wife Candice LeRae at the Mattel booth. They even did a parody of Sid Vicious being told he was live, pal. Can I do that again? No, we're live, pal. We're live. Yeah. They showcased the Ultimate Edition action figures of a 2-box set. One of Muhammad Ali, dressed as the referee at the inaugural WrestleMania, raising Hulk Hogan's hand, and the other is Boxer Ali looking down at Sonny Liston after that controversial, what do you call it, Phantom Punch?
In that space, so we've added new leg articulation, and as you can see here from this diorama posed out by our copywriter Robert Rudman, it really brings these figures to life like we've never been able to do before with WWE Basics. So to me, this is the most exciting reveal of the show.
I mean, and it's every era imaginable. You have Hulk Hogan and the Honky Tonk Man over there. You have Game era Triple H. Logan Paul is eating a Superman punch, and of course Top Dollar is getting it from first time in the line, right?
First time. You're going to be excited about that
every action figure department is going to be saying L.A. Knight.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
How
was it? Was that good?
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
good. Good. All right.
Big reaction out of you.
I mean, just amazing. You see all the detail, and this is just where we're starting.
And it's a beautiful line because there's something for everybody. First time in the line superstars, legends, and everything in between. Awesome stuff.
So in this glass case was Triple H hitting a pedigree on another toy. I don't know who it was. It looked like Drew McIntyre. The Undertaker setting up a choke slam, what looked like Batista. White suited Seth Rollins hitting AJ Styles with the curb stomp on the U.S. title. Hulk Hogan lifting his leg hit Honky Tonk Man. Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting Kevin Owens in the gut for a possible Stone Cold Stunner. In the middle of the cage is the toy ring and Roman Reigns hitting Logan Paul with the Superman punch. There are a lot more, but I just wanted to go through the gist of what this looked like. I loved it. I might just get it. I'll have the video in the show notes if you want to take a look at it as well. After they introduced a kids line of toys called Knuckle Crunchers. They had The Rock, John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins on display.
Knuckle Crunchers.
Tell me about Knuckle Crunchers.
Brand new kids line, super fun, small scale. Those joints actually crunch just like those old school figures. So when you move the arms and waist and legs around, they make great crunching, really satisfying crunching sounds. They come with awesome accessories, some with like, kind of effects like Seth Rollins' chair there. Wave 1 consists of Rock, John Cena, Seth freaking Rollins, Roman Reigns.
It's like Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
like
all
the
with
little broken kendo stick
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I love that.
accessories. And something I want to focus on here is this ring. And for this ring, for the first time ever, something that's never been done before, this is a complete fabric ring skirt that bounces. So when you toss those figures into it, it bounces like the figures out. It's super fun to play with, and I think kids and adults are gonna love this new Knuckle Crunchers line.
I mean, what I love about this form factor is the cool stuff that you can package these figures with. I mean, we see Brock down here with a sledgehammer and a shovel and a broken table. He's got all the accoutrement of a hospital, which is probably where he's gonna leave people. Let's talk about, speaking of super fun, I've made no secret about it. My favorite line. You already looking. You knew exactly where I was going. The Ultimate Edition. And every year now, you guys have amazing things that you're showing off. I feel like the Ultimate Edition kind of showcases what you can do with action figures in 2023. And we got to see a taste of this before Comic-Con with some of the pre-orders that went up. Of course, Ruthless Aggression, Rob Van Dam, and Brock Lesnar. And one that I'm really excited about, the Ultimate Warrior from Target.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we're going to be celebrating 40 years of Hulkamania, and part of that celebration is this brand new Ultimate Edition Ultimate Warrior from the SummerSlam match where he teamed with the Hulkster. So this gear is very Hulkamania centric. You see, Hulkamania down the side here. There's some deco on the back featuring the Hulkster as well. I mean, I think Bill knocked it out of the park. He's got that great Hogan-esque tan as well. Bill, tell us a bit about the details of this figure.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to work on. Just being able to capture that much deco on a figure is like really what the Ultimate line was created for. Just above and beyond with like the tassels and the artwork on the knee pads. Some of the new printing techniques on the faces to get the most accurate representation of Ultimate Warrior as possible. Yeah, this was a lot. I mean, this one in particular was very satisfying when all the parts come together to create what you see in the case.
The colors on it are absolutely insane, but
Definitely pop.
as we look down at the second shelf here, Johnny, Candace, like I know how much effort you guys put into how you look in the ring, your gear, and I feel like that's what the Ultimate Edition is all about, like finding space to put all those details in. Look at this Bianca Belair. Look at the coat. Look at the bow that's removable in her hair. I mean, you'd think this was two separate figures.
I almost did actually when we walked up to it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's like a whole different, but I think that's the fun with Bianca, and I think if they weren't adding all these features that we could remove, then you're not really, I mean, Bianca makes her own gear.
Yes.
So we're not doing her justice if we don't make it like this, I love that this is what we have. We can feel like I love it. I love it. I think it does her justice.
It's incredible, and you can even, I mean, there's just no mistaking exactly who that is. And Johnny, I know that we grew up around the same era, and it's very rare that we get a crying-faced Kurt Angle. There's not a lot of, believe it or not, in the wrestling action figure realm. There's not that many crying faces.
Or any, maybe.
I can't think of one.
Is there any?
None come to mind, but we have, that's the beauty again of the Ultimate Edition line. You have multiple heads, so you can capture all of those different moments.
I do love that singlet as well, because you know
Yeah,
what that
I was
singlet
gonna
is.
say that singlet's really good.
What is
too.
it? Was that singlet?
It's soft goods.
It's soft goods.
A soft goods
Drop them
singlet,
straps down.
and it reveals under it. Look,
Yeah.
the shorts that he wore when he won the WWE Championship. Of course, when you look at this, Johnny, does it make you think like, oh, I have to find some moments in the ring to cry, so that one day Bill McKenna can make me a crying face Johnny Gargano?
Bill, on the spot right now, if I cry on live television, will you make a figure of it?
Like I have to now, yeah.
Yes, there it is. There it is. It's on
You heard
record.
that. It's on record.
My hope with this figure is when Kurt sees it in person, he cries again. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
then we make an updated version. Comic-Con
Just
Kurt.
taps into that in him. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and of course, Bobby Lashley with the United States Championship with the side plates. We love a custom side plate. The shirt, the heads, everything.
The Ultimate Edition line consisted of the Ultimate Warrior, Kurt Angle, Bianca Belair. I love the Ultimate Edition line. I have Razor Ramon. I just got him a few weeks ago. The box comes with two sets of faces, 3 sets of hands. I guess you can change his hands. Of course, to do the 2 suite, and then added to it is the Intercontinental Championship belt. He is on display. I'm gonna have to do a video on what is displayed up here, because I have Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, 2 John Cenas actually, Johnny Gargano, CM Punk, The Rock, Roman Reigns, and to top it off, there's Razor Ramon. So keep a lookout on this video that I might do. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in the Patreon page. So if you want to take a good look at that one, join the Patreon page. Let me know.
Let's make our way over to an offering that I am super, super excited about. We talked about this a little bit in its infancy, I feel like, at WrestleMania, but now we see it on display. The Monday Night War is exploding onto Walmart shelves, courtesy of Mattel, and we have not only some of the Ultimates, but some of the Elites on display here. Tell us about
that's
this.
right. Monday Night War is coming to Walmart's in early 2024. We've got Wave 1 of the Elites on display here, and that consists of Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin representing WWE, and Scott Hall and Hollywood Hogan representing WCW. And what's really amazing about these Monday Night War figures is that they contain a Build-A-Figure, and that is first episode Nitro Lex Luger with soft goods shirt.
Puffy soft goods
Puffy,
shirt. Look at those
puffy,
sleeves.
yes,
Look
yes.
at those
Puffy
sleeves.
on that.
That's really, really cool, and you can see Stone Cold over there also on the
Having a soda?
on the 4-wheeler having a soda. Yeah, having himself.
So also in here we have a little sneak peek of someone from behind, and that completes the NWO. I think you all know that it's Kevin Nash. And I did see when we revealed this yesterday some people about the hat looks like it's not removable. That is true, it's not. But the whole hairpiece is removable,
What?
and you could put a new hairpiece on him that has no hat. So that is a really nicely sculpted on hat, so it's nice and tight and fitted around the head, so yes.
And this, I've always said it's important to have action figure designers that are bald, because they figure out how to get hair pieces on snugly. And Bill, you've done it again.
Well, being bald has its privileges
It
sometimes.
absolutely does. That's, I believe that's look at the adjective, Kevin Nash in there. And Scott Hall in all denim is a look that, oh, what a look.
What is up? This is Fuck It, Let's Talk with your host, Christine. Monthly, I'll be here to discuss the ups and woes of parenting and explore topics with other parents, or not parents, in hopes of finding a little sanity. Just a warning, the keyword here is puke. Eventually you'll get it. So come join me where we explore honest takes on parenting and life. Don't forget to follow on Spotify or subscribe wherever else the podcast is available. Be sure to check out the polls on Anchor, where you can also show some support if it tickles your fancy. And if you want more, head on over to the newsletter, F It Let's Talk on WordPress. I look forward to chatting with you. Fuck it. Let's talk.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Dawn.
And if you've ever watched a TV show and thought to yourself, oh my god, that season finale plot twist was absolutely bonkers.
Or seen a movie and thought, wow, I need to talk to somebody about this train wreck immediately.
Then we think you'll fit right in with our podcast, I Hate It, Let's Watch It. We watch TV shows like Riverdale and Emily in Paris.
And movies like Deep Water, Killer Sofa, Rubber, and Deadly Illusions. And we give them the total rinsing they deserve.
It's basically group therapy for movie masochists. So come check us out wherever you stream podcasts.
Don't you just love when we talk about nostalgia on this show? It's what the whole podcast is about. Going back to the years that made us feel good, remembering the reason it did, and then talking about it. Last week, we brought up 1992 SummerSlam because it was my favorite. This week, even though he's not here, let's talk about my co-host's favorite SummerSlam. Let's talk about Michael's favorite SummerSlam show, 2002, I'm sorry. What a great year this was. So, before we begin though, as always, follow us on our socials and support us. From Under the Apron on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Apron_stories on the X.com, Twitter X, Twits. Check out our threads. Threads, I don't know. More info on the links where you can listen or watch in the show notes. Listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or any other audio media you can listen to podcasts on. Make sure to rate us and leave us a review. And if you want to do a little bit more, just a little bit more. Give me more. Support us on the Patreon. Become a top tier patron and I will shout you out at the end of every episode. Go to patreon.com/From Under the Apron Podcast for more information on that. The link will be in the show notes. We are bringing back our old rating system again. During the show, we will be stating additional facts that you may or may not have known already that we just happened to come across on the web over the years. Basically, anything on Wikipedia or whatculture.com. Check out the What Culture 10 Fascinating the SummerSlam Facts. They have it from the 80s up until, I believe, 2016. I'm going to have to take another look at that one as well. After we've discussed the show in this moment, we will rate the show by giving it a unique rating system, such as how many videotapes out of 10 would we give it, and would we take it with us to school to have our friends watch it during a free class or an elective, because that's how we grew up in the 90s. So, let's start it. SummerSlam 2002 aired August 22, 2002 at Uniondale, New York in the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The attendance was 14,797. It was the first SummerSlam to occur under the first brand extension introduced in March, which split the roster between the Raw and SmackDown brands, where wrestlers were exclusively assigned to perform. SummerSlam featured wrestlers from both brands. It was also the first SummerSlam to occur under the WWE name. Following the promotion being renamed from World Wrestling Federation to WWE in May. Commentators for that event were Tad and Michael Cole for the SmackDown side, and Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross for the Raw side. One of the big reasons that SummerSlam 2002 succeeded artistically was because the show was lined with guys that could deliver. 83% of the men who wrestled on the main card had been at the top of the mountain at one time or another. Half the wrestlers on the show, 9 exactly, had worn the gold before. Kurt Angle, Ric Flair, Chris Jericho, Booker T, Chris Benoit, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and The Rock had all enjoyed at least one World Championship reign prior to August 25th. The 6 future champions include Rey Mysterio, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, Christian, Rob Van Dam, and Brock Lesnar, who of course didn't have to wait much longer to join the previous group. So let's start with the first match of the night. Kurt Angle defeated Rey Mysterio by submission, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. The best match of the night, I tell you. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. First things first. Go ahead, Bananas.
Well, boys, we got ourselves a good old-fashioned headbanger.
On the July 25th episode of SmackDown, Rey Mysterio made his WWE debut by defeating Chavo Guerrero. On the August 8th episode of SmackDown, the team of Mysterio, Edge, and John Cena defeated Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Kurt Angle with Mysterio pinned Angle. On the August 15th episode of SmackDown, Angle insulted Mysterio during a backstage interview, and Mysterio confronted him and challenged him to a match at SummerSlam, which Angle accepted. Later that night, Mysterio attacked Angle after his match against Mark Henry and delivered a 619 to Angle. On the August 22 episode of SmackDown, Mysterio cost Angle a match against Billy Kidman by attacking Angle. Rey Mysterio had made his televised WWE on the SmackDown brand in July of 2002 and quickly established that he could still deliver performances akin to his mid-90s show Steelers. He would have some of his old contemporaries to work with on SmackDown, including Chris Benoit and Los Guerreros, world-class performers that he delivered alongside before. As for Angle, whom Mysterio would be paired with at SummerSlam, it looked to be an interesting dynamic. A WWE-trained star versus the most gifted luchador ever. Mysterio had concerns that this style would not blend, but Angle was ready for anything Mysterio had at his disposal. In a 2017 interview with The Ringer, Mysterio said of Angle, "He told me that he literally wanted to pull out my whole arsenal and was willing to take every move to make me look good. The two produced an excellent opening match, and Angle forever earned Mysterio's respect for his open-mindedness. This match, I tell you, this match. If you want to know wrestling, go to this match. Kurt Angle blended his moves with Rey Mysterio's moves. They worked well together. The freaking, no matter how short it was, the crowd was on it the entire time. It was the start of the show. It started the show and it just went from there. That's how a show is supposed to start. Next match, Ric Flair defeated Chris Jericho by submission. 10 minutes and 22 seconds. Two matches back to back that had submission moves as the deciding factor for the win. Somewhat unceremoniously, 53-year-old Ric Flair was working as a mostly mid-card babyface on the Raw brand in the summer of 2002. There's nothing wrong with an elder statesman taking that role, but after a go-nowhere heel turn that Steve Austin's walkout inevitably killed dead, Flair was treading water with little to no direction. Jericho recalls that Flair wasn't in the best place mentally at the time, after a rough stretch in his career had eroded his confidence. When going over the match for SummerSlam, McMahon told the two that he wanted Flair to win with an inside cradle. Jericho asked about losing to the figure four since Flair so rarely won with it. According to Jericho, Flair disagreed with the suggestion, telling Y2J that he didn't deserve it because he wasn't himself. This led to Jericho giving him a fiery pep talk, making him realize that he was Ric effing Flair and that he deserved the best for himself. Sure enough, Flair took the words to heart. Jericho added that he was merely returning the favor for when Flair reached out to him when he struggled as undisputed champion. Another thing to note here is that Ric Flair still suffered through this until they paired him up with Triple H for Evolution, and that's when Ric Flair's confidence skyrocketed from there, because he had Triple H to hype him up. He had Randy Orton and Batista as well. Triple H sat down and told him, like, you're Ric Flair also. And with that came this as well. This match, I am telling you, match number 2, off to a great start. We're off to a great start here. First match, killed it. Second match, killed it again. 10 minutes. We're already out at 20 minutes into the show, and it's going awesome as hell. Next 10 minutes, however, kills. It kills. It still continues to kill. Edge defeated Eddie Guerrero at 11 minutes and 47 seconds, the third match of the night. In the early days of the brand extension in the summer of 2002, wrestlers crossed from Raw over to SmackDown and vice versa, as WWE sought to find the perfect place for their talent and strike a workable balance between brands. July alone saw tons of crossing including Jericho headed to Raw and Benoit and Eddie Guerrero to SmackDown. That double switch nixed a looming Jericho Edge feud, but provided a fallback. Edge was told he would be working with Benoit at SummerSlam for Benoit's newly won Intercontinental title belt that had just brought over Raw. However, WWE officials decided they wanted to get the belt back onto the Raw brand, so they programmed Benoit against the Raw superstar that he won from Rob Van Dam. As a consolation prize, Edge was placed into a feud with Eddie Guerrero. One of the many great laments about the young death of Eddie Guerrero is that less than 4 years earlier, he'd made a Herculean comeback from a serious addiction that all but destroyed both his personal and professional lives. Guerrero's return to rigorous WWE life in 2002 seemed to be a gamble, given that less than a year earlier, he was sent home from a TV taping in no condition to work. The gamble, however, paid off as Guerrero was laser focused on beating those demons, though many in the WWE locker room were happy for Guerrero. There were skeptics. Guerrero's SummerSlam opponent, Edge, was apparently one of them, according to Guerrero's autobiography. He noted that Edge wasn't sure that Guerrero was going to be a team player in their storyline, that he might only be out for himself. Guerrero demonstrated to Edge that he was willing to do all he could to benefit him, and the two soon warmed to each other. Their work together went a long way in establishing the value of the SmackDown 6. I'm telling you, the Edge versus Eddie Guerrero was an absolute freaking monster as well. These three matches alone, I'm just giving the tape away. I'm already answering my question by the very end of the show. Would you give this VHS tape to any one of your peers or friends? Would you show it to your class? Yeah, definitely. These three matches alone prove that. However, I'm not going to talk about the next match because, to me, it wasn't that interesting at all. But I will say that the other Americans, Christian and Lance Storm, defeated Booker T and Goldust and remained the WWE Tag Team Champions. And the match only lasted 9 minutes and 37 seconds. The next match after that, though, again, it's wonderful. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's the reason why the SmackDown 6 is a thing. Rob Van Dam defeated Chris Benoit for the Intercontinental Championship. 16 minutes and 30 seconds. Rob Van Dam and Chris Benoit, meanwhile, had been feuding over the WWE Intercontinental Championship since Benoit won it from Van Dam on the July 29th episode of Raw. Shortly after this match, Benoit took advantage of what was referred to as open season on wrestler contracts and took his title with him to the SmackDown brand, where he had originally been drafted. Benoit was still required to defend his title against a member of the Raw roster at SummerSlam, and the Van Dam defeated Jeff Hardy on the August 12th episode of Raw in a match to determine the number one contender. So Rob Van Dam takes the title, the Intercontinental Championship, back to Raw. Meanwhile, who was it? The U.S. champion at the time was someone. Oh, I'm sorry. There was no Intercontinental U.S. champion at the time as in November 18, 2001, a Survivor Series. Edge defeated Intercontinental Champion Test in a title unification match. Edge became the Intercontinental Champion while the United States title was deactivated. In May of 2002, the WWF became the WWE, so there was no U.S. champion until July 27, 2003, when Eddie Guerrero reactivated the WWE United States Championship exclusive title for the SmackDown brand. Guerrero defeated Chris Benoit in the tournament finals for a revived title at Vengeance in 2003. So there you have it. That's why I thought the U.S. title was still going even after the whole Survivor Series thing. Guess I was wrong.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!
You're listening to Mama Murdered a Podcast. I'm your host, AB. Mama Murdered a Podcast is a podcast where me, the mama, will be killing it on the podcast. We'll be taking a deep dive into things that are hard to talk about and even harder to believe that these things actually happen in the world that we live in. This entire podcast will be a trigger warning. I'll be talking about triggering topics while I dive headfirst into a lot of the cases that I'll be covering. New episodes will be released every week on Wednesdays because nobody likes Mondays and because Fridays are for day drinking and barbecues. Some of the case topics will be murder, of course, serial killers, like Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, missing persons cases, like 5-year-old Summer Wells, who vanished from her own yard in broad daylight in the middle of June in Tennessee in 2021. And especially the ones where it kind of seems like they just vanished into thin air, like Brian Schaefer. He walked into a bar, but he never walked out. He's still never been seen again. I'll also be covering cold cases and lesser-known cases. Join me every Wednesday to talk about all things tragic, murder, and things that happen in the downright ugliest sides of society. If you like what you hear and you want to support the podcast, you can rate me on Spotify. You can also leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at murdered_mama. All of these things are free and they only take about a second to do, and it really does help grow the podcast. If you have any case suggestions, please send them my way. You can send them to the email address mamamurderedapodcast@gmail.com.
So how do you follow that match? You don't. You kind of do, and it's an 8-minute match, and like it was The Undertaker defeating Test. It was only 8 minutes, but the thing that got me here when I was rewatching it was that I don't know if this person was the only person to do it, but he was the first person to do it, but he was one of the first few that I've seen do it in 2002. When Undertaker went up for the old school Test, slammed him out of that. It's like got out of that move real quickly. And it like earlier in the year, I guess there was a thing going on where a wrestler in AEW was performing a move such as the old school, where he's walking the ropes, and who was it? Against Jay White. I don't know who he was up against. Probably Hijo del Vikingo. But the fact that this person did a whole move set up there, climbing the rope, doing all kinds of stuff on the rope, and Jay White is still waiting for that move to happen. And it lasted like, 30, 45 seconds? And all Test had to do was kick The Undertaker. Come on, The Undertaker, who nobody ever gets out of that old school move. But Test did it on this match. Which earlier in the year was controversial to some, because, oh my god, why did it take so long for Jay to not actually get out of the move, only for the move to be performed into a slingshot, I guess. I don't know. I gotta watch it again. We'll go through that again. The Undertaker defeated Test, that's all I'm saying. Next match, however, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in an unsanctioned street fight at 27 minutes and 20 seconds. At Vengeance, Michaels returned after being out of wrestling due to a back injury for 4 years. Triple H was given the choice of deciding which brand he would appear for, Raw or SmackDown, and Michaels helped him decide by offering to reform D-Generation X on the Raw brand. Yeah, buddy, TX, suck it! Thanks to those teachers that, gave me detention for that one. Triple H chose to go to the Raw brand, but on the July 22 episode of Raw, as Michaels and Triple H were in the middle of reforming DX, Triple H turned on Michaels by nailing him with the pedigree. On the July 29th episode of Raw, Michaels was found in the parking lot, laying motionless following an ambush. He was also bleeding from the head due to someone putting his head through a car window. On the August 5th episode of Raw, a security camera revealed to be Triple H that had attacked Michaels from behind. Triple H told Michaels that he did it to prove a point that Michaels was weak. Michaels then told Triple H that he wasn't 100%, but he would be at SummerSlam. On the August 19th episode of Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff announced an unsanctioned street fight between Triple H and Shawn Michaels for SummerSlam. Later in the night, Michaels interfered in Triple H's non-title match with The Rock and assaulted Triple H. At the beginning of the show, Brock Lesnar brought out a front row seat ticket to watch the main event between The Rock and Triple H, but even when Lesnar tried to interfere on Triple H's behalf, Michaels delivered a sweet chin music to Lesnar. Michaels then leaped on top of Triple H, and then security ended the show by knocking Triple H down, sending a clear message that he was not weak as they headed into their match at SummerSlam. Shawn Michaels' comeback demonstrated, if nothing else, how ring rust just doesn't affect certain guys. Michaels' timing, selling, technique, and energy were all pristine and immaculate in his non-sanctioned match against Triple H, and one could easily argue that it's one of the greatest WWE matches of his millennium, if not all time. Part of this build to the match was noting that Michaels could have ring rust, as he had not wrestled since Steve Austin stunned him to early retirement at WrestleMania 14. Technically, that's not a true statement. While it's true that Michael did not wrestle for WWE in that 4.5-year stretch, he did perform in a one-off match in April 2000 for his local Texas Wrestling Alliance promotion. There, he took part in a hardcore match with Paul Diamond, a man he had worked with in numerous promotions, including WWE in the 80s and early 90s. After Michaels lived up to his showstopper nickname once more, there were no immediate plans for him as a wrestler. At the age of 37, Michaels had proven that he could still go out there and deliver that typical match of the year candidate, stealing the show in the card that featured the likes of Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and Edge. But the match with Triple H was merely a one-off at the time, given that Michaels was returning from what was thought to be a career-ending injury, and that his balls-out style had previously led to him indulging in substances that were nearly his ruin. It was decided to take it easy and see how things played out health-wise. Michaels would obviously return down the line, but one day at a time was the thought process then. However, this match, my God, it just proved that he needed to come back because he had it all in him. And then, but the nail in the coffin, man, Triple H. Shawn Michaels won the match, but Triple H won that war when he grabbed the sledgehammer and struck him on his back twice. The EMTs had to come out. And for sure, there would have been a moment when they're like, okay, he's not coming back to wrestle ever again. Like, this could be it. But then, Survivor Series happened. We'll go on that later. Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman defeated The Rock for the WWE Undisputed Championship. 16 minutes and 16 minutes. The main feud heading into SummerSlam on the SmackDown brand was between The Rock and Brock Lesnar, with the two feuding over the WWE Undisputed Championship. On the June 24 episode of Raw, it was announced that Lesnar would face off against the WWE Undisputed Champion at SummerSlam. As a result of winning the King of the Ring tournament at Vengeance, The Rock defeated The Undertaker and Kurt Angle in a triple threat match to win the WWE Undisputed Championship by pinning Angle after executing a rock bottom. On the July 25th episode of SmackDown, during The Rock's WWE Tag Team Championship against the Un-Americans, Lance Storm and Christian, Lesnar interfered by nailing The Rock. Tag team partner Hollywood Hogan with an F5. Due to Lesnar's interference, The Rock and Hogan won the match by disqualification, but not the titles. On the August 8th episode of SmackDown, Lesnar put his SummerSlam title shot on the line against Hogan with the stipulation added if Hogan were to defeat Lesnar, he would face The Rock in a WrestleMania 18 rematch at SummerSlam for the WWE Undisputed Championship. At the end, Lesnar locked Hogan in a bear hug. When Hogan kayfabe passed out, the referee stopped the contest. After the match, Lesnar then nailed Hogan in the head with the steel chair, causing Hogan to bleed. On the August 15th episode of SmackDown, The Rock took on the WWE Intercontinental Champion Chris Benoit in a champion versus champion match, which Lesnar interfered once again. During the match, Lesnar taunted The Rock while The Rock was placed in the crippler crossface by Benoit, a move which we never say anymore because of the connotations behind Benoit. Crippler crossface has now been turned into crossface, basically. We don't say the crippler anymore. At one point, Michael Cole almost said crossface. The Rock, however, was able to defeat Benoit following a rock bottom. On the August 22 episode of SmackDown, after The Rock and Edge defeated Benoit and Eddie Guerrero in a tag team match, Lesnar appeared for another stare down with The Rock, which led to a brawl between the two that ended the show. There are many examples in wrestling where title changes and torch passing moments didn't happen the correct way due to politics and greed. In regard to The Rock, few of the contemporaries have ever had a cross word to say about him. For the most part, he's been noted for his professionalism and his willingness to do right by the wrestling business. Only the wrestling business, but if you put this guy in a movie set, you're going to have a grudge. Well, not anymore. Not if you're family. Lesnar would later say Rock was all about putting him over clean as a sheet at SummerSlam. Although Lesnar was a heel, a monster heel, but a heel regardless, WWE could just as easily have had Paul Heyman interfere or have Lesnar beat their top star through some other underhanded act. Lesnar explained that Rock, who was about to leave for several months to film the rundown, thought WWE would benefit most from him losing to Lesnar clearly so that the new face of the company could have maximum credibility in Rock's absence. Brock even said he would have been happy to return the favor down the line, since a rematch would surely make him, Rock, and WWE each tons of money, regardless of who won. SummerSlam 2002 faded to black less than a minute after Lesnar scored a winning pin, cutting off his Brock gleefully examined his golden token as though if it were a 72-ounce piece of steak. Yes, 72-ounce steak. I'm already missing out on the big Texan 72-ounce steak challenge. Alright, that image capped off a 3-hour spectacle that did more than enough to earn a rave thumbs up. Alas, the den dwellers not at the Nassau Coliseum missed out on a nifty bonus. Lesnar left the Rock behind the ring, and the great one began what would be his farewell promo before jetting off to Hollywood as the Long Island crowd booed him, which it did for the match as well. Rock caustically boomed, "Finally, The Rock has come back to... It doesn't matter where The Rock has come back to." He eventually cut a promo declaring that Sing Along with The Rock is over. He yelled that he was still leaving here as the People's Champion. Fans showered him with Rocky Socks, Rocky Socks, Rocky Socks, that old classic, as he left the WWE for nearly 6 months. That snide parting shot would, in hindsight, serve as a bit of foreshadowing for one of the most entertaining heel runs ever once Rock returned in late January 2003, where he turned heel on Hulk Hogan, leading to a WrestleMania 18 rematch at No Way Out, where special guest referee Sylvain Grenier and Mr. McMahon both interfered and helped The Rock defeat Hogan. Not just The Rock. Hollywood Rock, baby. Easy, boy. Easy. Easy down there. Hey. The Rock, Hollywood Rock, and his ego persona was fucking amazing at that time, I tell you. On the August 26th episode of Raw, due to the requirements of the WWE Undisputed Championship, I don't know how many W's I said there, but hey, it happened. WWE Undisputed Championship being defended on both shows, Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff expected Brock Lesnar to be able to return on Raw the next night. Lesnar and SmackDown General Manager Stephanie McMahon appeared to announce that Lesnar's contract only required him to defend the title on SmackDown. Subsequently, Bischoff established the World Heavyweight Championship as a separate world title. On the September 2 episode of Raw, Bischoff awarded Triple H Raw designated number one contender the World Heavyweight Championship in the form of the big gold belt. The Undertaker went on to challenge Lesnar for the now renamed WWE Championship at Unforgiven and again at No Mercy in a Hell in a Cell match. Shawn Michaels returned full-time to the ring at Survivor Series and win the World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H in the first ever Elimination Chamber match. So there you have it. The best SummerSlam of the 2000s, of the millennium, of 2002. Michael's favorite SummerSlam. Even the match, Brock Lesnar versus The Rock, was just like going in there. It's like the last SummerSlam of me and my best friend. We heard the boos. We're like, oh shit, Rock is getting booed. It's like knowing like it's gonna be that whole passing the torch thing. Yeah, it happened. Rock passed the torch to Brock Lesnar, and became the face of WWE from that moment on. Um, that does it. Let's rate the show. I'm gonna give it a 7. Besides the 2 other matches that I didn't mention because they weren't interesting to me. I'm gonna give it a 7, 7.5. Let's do a 7.5 because at least it entertained the hell out of me. First 3 matches, everything about this show was amazing. Um, okay, not everything. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 videotapes out of 10, and I'm taking this tape to school. You know what? It's not even a tape anymore. It's the year 2000. We're gonna do DVDs. We're gonna do Blu-rays. Was Blu-rays a thing back then? All right, so we're gonna do DVDs, and we're gonna send them to school, and we're gonna like share the whole thing with my other wrestling friends, because that's how we do it. Like, hey, dude, you got that SummerSlam 02? Yeah, here you go. And we all did that. That's gonna do it for this episode. Let me tell you what's coming up. We have a patron privilege request for next week. We are fast forwarding to SummerSlam 2020 and just in time for SummerSlam 2023. So, if y'all heard the bonus episode podcast Screaming into the Void about the music that shaped both myself and my co-host for that episode, Babel, we are changing things up. My dearest friend had to take a sabbatical, and I respect that, but it doesn't mean I'm going to cancel the show. Like I said earlier on the show, this show is going to evolve. We're going to take things to the next level. I'm going to talk about it either way. I'm not going to make up another show. It's still gonna be under the From Under the Apron umbrella. Get it? It's still gonna be there basically. I already talked to a whole bunch of people that wanted to be on the show, so I'm going to continue it, and until it gets on its feet and off the ground, I'm going to post these episodes on the main podcast. I'm not gonna name it something entirely different. I'm just gonna put in segments here and there, but it just goes with the nostalgia, the feel of the show. So, at times you will hear me talk about wrestling. At times you'll hear me talk about music. At times you'll hear me talk about toys. We just discussed toys on this episode, so we're going to discuss more. I'll be covering stuff that I don't normally cover on the main show, complete with possible interviews with those friends. So continue to listen to us and enjoy it. Keep an eye out for the news that I have coming up next. So if you'll indulge me, you'll still come and listen to me. You'll still, hang out and stuff. Even answer questions, whatever you want to do. Send me a message on FromUnderTheApron@gmail.com. I'm glad you have you there. All right. Gonna end the show right here. As always, follow us on our socials to support us from Under the Apron on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Apron_stories on the X. X gonna give it to you. I've been saying that this whole time ever since I found out Twitter's rebranding itself to X. X is gonna give it to you, so I'm gonna give it to you on the X. Apron_stories on the X. More info on the links on where you can listen or watch in the show notes. Go to Threads. Add us on Threads. Listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or any other audio media you can listen to podcasts on. Make sure to rate us and leave us a review. And if you feel want a little bit more, give me more. All you want is more. No more. What was that, Brittany? All you want is more. No more? Nah, never mind. Go to patreon.com/ From Under the Apron Podcast. Support us on the Patreon. Become a top tier patron and get patron privileges. And I'll shut you out at the end of every episode. Last week, so we did a thing last week where I shouted out everybody in the Macho Man Randy Savage voice. This week, however, I'm going to do something completely different, and I hope you're ready for it. This is now. So this week, somebody asked me to do it in an ASMR. So we're going to do it in ASMR. I'm going to whisper these names. Okay? So let's start with Babel B, Menace Smiling, Stephanie M, Dark Fake Creations. Check out their fancy dandy candles at darkfakecreations.com. Tell them I sent you. Jolene, Seizure Queen, Purple Haze 94. Brenda. Brenda Lamore 1. Zach WWE. So what? He changed his name to Zach AW. But we're not going to acknowledge that here. I'm still not going to acknowledge that. He's going to get mad. But either way, that's happening. Next up, Rowena, the Queen of Persia. Sorry, I gotta scroll down. OMG is red. OMG, 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 OMG. Jay Wowzer. Jay Wowzer. Jay Wowzer. Next up, OG Just Peachy. OG Just Peachy and Jay Wowzer. That's a pretty combination of names right there, huh? Coincidentally, yeah. Hydrangea Water. The Grunge Witch. Oh yeah, Hannah Time. Happy birthday, Hannah Time. I know it's your birthday. I just said it on Twitter. Or X, whatever it's called. Happy birthday. Happy, 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 happy. Next up, Messenger Stupidity. This girl, 474. Next up, Tommy the Gun. Tommy the Gun. Jerry Bomb. Tommy the Gun and Jerry Bob. My favorite DJ, DJ A. DJ A. DJ A. Ron. The Wheat Daddy. The Wheat Daddy. Rabbit Orlando, my favorite Wabbit. My girl right there, Wabbit Orlando. Collector of all things sentimental. Collector of all things sentimental. Mermaid, Queen of the Seas. Ooh, Mermaid, Queen of the Seas. XX Panda XX19. Philly, Millie, Bree Flash, Task Flash Art. Cloudy November from No. Cloudy November from the No is a Sentence podcast. Check out her podcast, her and her friend. The No is a Sentence podcast. Check out that podcast. Next up, Turtle Boy Florist. Happy Chic Block. Hopeful Kid Weasel Eclipse. Silly Billy. Belly. El Pepper Frito. Scott MG 418. Celestial Moon Goddess. Celestial Moon Goddess. Dude Poor. Zippy Hippie. Strawberry Chaotic. I know she changed her name, but I still like to call her Strawberry Chaotic. Next up, Lady Dabigail. Lady Dabigail. Full Heart Hurt. Full Heart Hurt. Shot of Patron. Aussie Screw. Sierra Censored. Cookie Monster Kalani. V-Nice 888. Ugly Hag on the Rag. Rag. X Chaos Corey 420. K-Bear 0111. Swifty Forever After. One Savage Daughter Arbol Avril. WTF Constantly Clickbait Candy Lush. Lust for Life. Dying Weeds. Boy Next Door. Atomic Princess Angel. Sensitive Angel. Vibrant Designs. Black Belma. Mermaid Kisses. Delicate Indecision. Art Goblin 6666666. Nikki Hardwell. Lose Me in the Sun. Lose me. Scorpion Deathlock. Lock. Just Another Dude. Tumble in the Jungle. Shamika with one E. Shamika with one E. H-Cake Sunday 909. Jabroni Baloney. Just Another Dude. Blankface Villain. Lucid Dream 619. Hey, it's Yuzu. MF Demo. Kenzo Vintage. H-Cakes 25. And Two Hearts Intertwined. Two Hearts Intertwined. Thank you guys for supporting this podcast. Patreon.com/From Under the Apron Podcast. get your name shouted out, support the podcast. Now please lower your headphones because I'm about to slowly build it up and bring up the volume again. Check out the show notes for links to other podcasters that you heard in this episode. Send us a message of your favorite wrestling stories, questions, comments, ratings, or requests at our email. It is fromundhertheapron@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, joining the live, staying the gives, and being a huge part of this community. Tell your friends. Join us next time for more stories, movies, and TV show reviews, as well as wrestling-related stories when we come to you from under the... It doesn't matter where we come to you from. Apron.